Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is actor Eddie Jones and Laune Michel, who's also an actress and an author. Actor Eddie Jones was born and raised in Pennsylvania. After high school, he came to California and took acting classes, and I guess the rest is history, Eddie, because you've been working ever since then.
Well, I've been working pretty much since that time, and I hitchhiked to California.
Is that how you got
Yeah,
here?
I hitchhiked to California. I had won $50 in a poker game.
Did it build your acting ability?
I don't know, but anyhow, so I came out here to go to school because we didn't have too much money. So I came out to go to school, and then I got involved in with this friend of mine who was going to an acting class, and the next thing you know, I was in summer stock.
Is that right? So you weren't planning to be an actor?
I was not, no.
What were you planning to be?
I was something like an electrical engineer.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, I have.
Boring.
I don't know. If I get this acting right, maybe they'll accept me back in school.
Oh, please. When are we going to do that? You've been an award-winning stage actor in Los Angeles, New York, on Broadway, off-Broadway. You've been in several films, The Grifters, Prince of the City, A League of Their Own. You've played regular roles on ABC, Lois and Clark.
Right.
And something else.
The Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man on the Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi Channel, right.
But how does it feel being Superman's dad?
That was, well, it's kind of you pound your chest a little bit, I guess.
Can you fly?
Ask Anita.
Anita Kanzadian, your
my
wife.
Yes,
yeah.
ask
The
Anita if I can
director.
fly.
Has she directed you to fly? Because she directed you in Death of a Salesman.
Yes, she did. She has directed me to fly. Well, I don't know if she's directed me to fly, but...
She doesn't actually direct Lois and...
No. She doesn't do any... She hasn't been involved in television or movies that much. It's all theater. Her background's all theater.
So what was your first break, though, when you got to California?
Actually, when I got to California, no, I went back to summer stock. I knew nothing about the theater, hadn't a clue. We did 25 shows in 26 weeks.
You mean that
summer
first
stock.
summer? Was that when you first started acting?
Oh yeah, the second.
So you must have gotten all of your training right there.
It was all by instinct and by just exposure. The second play I ever saw I was in. So I was that naive.
Oh, so you...
But it was a blessing. It turned out to be a blessing because if I'd have known something about it, then I would have also known that I couldn't do it.
Oh.
But since I knew nothing, then I did it.
And then did you go to acting classes?
Then I went to the Army.
Oh.
For 2 years, and I came back to that summer stock theater as the juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
And worked another long season, and then I went to New York.
Oh.
And the first show I was in, we did a revival of Dead End.
Is it
you remember that.
Off-Broadway?
Off-Broadway, yeah. The Equity Library Theater was Dustin Hoffman and Kenny Kercheval and
yeah.
I've forgotten who else was in it.
I don't remember that, but I
No, probably
but
not.
I know.
Jerry Ragney, all those guys. So that was the
I wasn't
the
going
beginning.
to Off-Broadway then.
I didn't know.
I didn't know what Off-Broadway was yet.
Right.
You were acting in it.
Yeah, I was. So that was the beginning of the whole
So
thing.
then, as you developed as an actor, what kind of role did you really prefer?
Well, it's interesting. I studied with a guy by the name of Michael Egan. And week after week after week, we've been doing this scene or that scene and so forth and so on. And it was always the heavy stuff. And so I got to the place, I said, let's do something that's, a little fun. Because it's got to be some sort of change here, you know.
Can't always be depressed.
So we worked on this play. We worked on it in the same way that we did the other plays, the serious plays, and it was such a great amount of fun. So yeah. What I'm saying is, I do it, all of it.
It doesn't matter to you.
Doesn't matter.
And you're not like looking for that next role that's going to be the most exciting role you've had.
I've kind of done the most exciting role that.
Really?
That I've had. A salesman.
Was that
Well, that's
Willie
pretty much,
Lomax?
yeah.
And you worked with a team. I forget what theater it was.
Interact Theater.
Interact Theater. But you worked with an award-winning team. Take me through that process. You worked with Tom Butterwitz.
Tom Butterwitz, who was the
set designer.
Set designer, and
then Julie Farron,
Julie Farron was the sound.
Lee Weibris, costumes.
Yes, that's right.
And then Paul Cuneo, original music.
Paul Cuneo was the original music.
Did we leave anybody out? And the director, Anita Kanzadian.
Who was the nice girl.
Who's great. but the thing is, how did all of those, because they were all specialists in their field.
Oh, I'll try to give you a little background on the whole thing. About 25 years ago, I think, anyhow, I was 40, 41, something like that. And never... I even thought of myself as doing a production of Willie Lomax, or Death of a Salesman. And somebody lost a Willie, and so somebody suggested me. I went down, I read, and the next thing you know, I'm up in Cohost, New York, doing this play, this monster play. And the first day of rehearsal, I thought I was going to die.
Had you gone in prepared?
Well, I didn't have a chance to prepare because it was like Saturday, and I was there Monday. Anyhow, the point of the story is... So I had no background on, I knew something about the production, but everything was by instinct. So it came off very well, and then we decided to try to do it out here. And about 4 years ago, Interact was going to do it, but then somebody else had the rights. Jack Klugman had the rights, and then Brian Dennehy did it, and so we finally got it on.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
So we fortunately, because we have a good group of people out there, and we wanted primarily to use those people.
The ones that we were talking about before?
The ones we were talking about, but our producer, James... I suddenly forgot his name. He'd kill me.
We don't talk about producers on here anyway. All we talk about is the artistic part of it.
Right. James Harper.
Okay.
For whatever serendipity or taste or luck, we assembled this terrific group, and we were grateful to all of them. So we ended up with a wonderful production.
And you all worked obviously very well together because it was award-winning production.
Yes.
Will you do it again, do you think? Can you
I would like to.
Reprise it? Is that what they said?
I would, yes, reprise. I would like to. I don't know if we'll be able to do it.
This is a play that Arthur Miller wrote, was on Broadway in 1949. It's been done a million times, as you say, by 100 actors.
Right.
Great actors.
Right.
How do you bring something fresh to that role of Willie Loman?
Well, as I said in the production that I did a long time ago, because I had no time, everything, I just had to learn the lines and do it. So I went by instinct, and whatever that initial thing was very valuable to me, and I tried to preserve that even.
You carried it over to this?
Carried it to this day.
And what was it? Was it a different mindset? Was it a different approach to the way he
lived?
Yeah,
it is a different approach. I've seen 3 or 4 productions of this, and all of them...
He's kind of a pathetic guy. See, it just depends on how you look at it.
It depends on how you look at it. My Willie, as far as I'm concerned, is a winner.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there's so many possibilities, so many possible Willies.
One of the reviews I read compared Willie to King Lear, both strong but tragic, but I don't know if that's the way you approached it or not.
Well, I don't. Again, I say I don't know exactly how I approached it. And it would be difficult for me to. I suppose in some sort of long seminar or something, I can start
talking about it.
talking about it, so that you know.
But when I saw that King Lear mentioned, I wondered if you had studied Shakespeare and if anything like that ever came out.
No, I have done some Shakespeare long ago, but I have never studied Shakespeare. No.
So it wasn't anything that was in your background.
In terms of King Lear?
Yeah, in terms of like maybe playing
Willie?
it the same way, right?
No, I never made that kind of association at all.
Would it be a challenge for you to do Shakespeare?
I think it would to a degree, but I think I could handle it. I have no problem. What little Shakespeare I've had, it seems to come easily to me. So.
And what about dialects and
that's
playing?
No problem.
You
that's
can.
No problem.
That's no problem.
No, it's a little work, but I have a pretty good ear.
So that's what it takes: cadence and ear and. I don't know what it takes.
Nose and eyes and teeth.
And being
and feet,
alive.
And being alive. And lots of fear.
Lots of fear?
Lots of fear helps
Fear
you.
factor. Yeah,
Fear
that's how I
factor.
feel when I come on here. Is he going to answer my questions?
Yeah.
What did he do in The Grifters? Was Angelica fabulous in
I
that?
didn't work with her. The only person I worked with was John Cusack, who I
was
think
great.
is one terrific young actor.
Older
now.
Like young actor at that time, do you learn things from these young actors, or do they always learn from you?
I think it's a two-way street. Primarily, they're coming my way, though, I think.
They're looking at you.
But some people are, for whatever reason, that young, that gifted, and it comes very easily to them. And
Can you see that when you're there with them,
Sure,
working with them?
sure. Yeah, you can see it very quickly. And also, so many of the young actors, going back one generation, two generations, are much more acquainted with the theater, much more acquainted with movies, television, characters,
they've worked
educated. They're also educated, articulate.
That's what I see a lot. If you were to spend your life doing one type of acting, screen, TV, stage, what would you want to do?
I think kindergarten.
Go back and start learning again, right?
No, the theater.
You like over everything. Huh?
Oh, sure.
And
sure.
why is it?
Because it's direct and it's, and you get a chance to really examine the part. You really get a chance to examine the play. And
doesn't the audience disturb you? I mean, certain times.
Certain times, I suppose yeah, but mostly no. The first few nights, I think you're pretty nervous, but you get by that, and thank God for the audience. That's what it's about.
That's right. It's relating to the audience. I mean, do you really know they're there?
You would be. Oh, you definitely know they're there. It's a little different than doing a whole play, for instance, for a squirrel or something. That's
the squirrel doesn't pay attention to you.
You say nuts. Yeah, I understand. Never mind.
Well, we're not going to say nuts. We had a great time with you today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
for being with us, Eddie Jones. And
Yeah,
I want to see Willie Lomax again.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And we'll come and see you on the stage.
Okay, great.
Okay. Don't go away. We're happy to have Eddie Jones with us, but we're going to be more happy to have Laune Michel, who will be on next. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with Laune Michel, who was born in Baton Rouge and raised in Louisiana to a very, very literary family. After school, she took off for New York. And why did you go to New York? To study?
Yes, I had a brief diversion with modeling.
That's what I wanted to know, because you look like a model.
I did a little of that, went to Europe.
You did?
Yeah, lived in Milan for a bit, which was a great way to see Europe.
Oh, great.
And was very broadening, considering coming from South Louisiana. I was finally aware of how sheltered I was growing up by living in Europe for a bit.
But how did you get to New York to model, actually?
I did.
Did they take you there
I left,
to model?
Yeah, I left right after high school, and I was fortunate enough to get with an agency who then sent me to Milan for the collections. Yeah,
So you bypassed college a little bit.
I completely bypassed, not a little bit, I completely bypassed
But
college.
that's pretty interesting because to see what end you've taken or where you
Right.
are now,
Yes.
and to like not have any of that.
Formal
Our other
education.
guest, Eddie Jones, was talking about that too, not having that kind of formal
Right.
education.
Yeah.
But if you get into what you want to do, then that's your training ground.
Right, I think so. And I did train as an actor in New York City when I came back
You
from
did.
Europe. And then as a writer.
Did you take acting classes?
Yes, with Michael Howard, who actually Anita studied with.
Anita Kanzadian,
Yes,
the director.
Eddie's wife. And I studied with a teacher from the Actors Studio and Neighborhood Playhouse.
So were those helpful to you?
Oh, incredible! I mean, it was a great foundation. And in New York, of course, everything is for the theater.
Yeah. Did you get roles then from those?
I did a
acting
little,
classes?
but mostly when I came out to Los Angeles. And
Is
when
that
I,
right?
Yes, and when I left New York after studying for a few years, I thought, oh my God, I'm cutting my training short by so much. This is terrible. And then I came to LA, where it's just a different
It's so
feeling
funny
about training. So
because
it was, I'd had more than plenty in New York.
But people always think LA is like the hinterland, you know? And so many actors come here and they go right on stage or they get right in movies
Right.
and the big break comes.
It's much more open, I found, for actors than New York is.
We talked a little bit about your literary background, and I'm sure, or in your family,
Right.
and I'm sure that made big impact on you, even though you didn't go to college and
Right.
read the classics or do that. You're probably
Well, I
reading
did
those
read
at
the
home.
classics, yes, and I always knew that I would write.
Tell us about Andre
Dubus.
Dubus,
Yeah, my
the
uncle.
third.
Well, the third is my first cousin, and his father, Andre Dubus, was my uncle.
What
he
did they
died
write in?
3 years ago. Andre Dubus, my uncle, was a short story writer. He wrote the short story that the movie In the Bedroom was based on. And his son, Andre Dubus III, has written short stories and he's published 2 novels. House of Sand and Fog is coming out as a film with Jennifer Connelly. And then my other cousin is James Lee Burke, who is a best-selling award-winning mystery writer.
And have his books, give us some titles.
Heaven's Prisoners was made into a movie. Jimmy's always on the New York Times bestseller list and has won 2 Edgar Awards. And
Where does
if you're a
he
mystery
live?
writer lover,
Oh,
then
right.
you know
Right.
Jimmy.
Where
yeah.
does he live?
Partly Montana and part of the year New Iberia, Louisiana, where
So
my
he's
mama's
still
family
back.
is from.
He's still back
Yeah,
to
exactly.
But that just has to be in your genes because you've written 2 short stories, and
I've
they've
written
both gotten awards.
Awards. The first 2 I wrote won awards. I've written about 12 short stories.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, but those
Yeah.
first 2, your first
Won
2 ever,
awards.
like a Thomas Wolfe Award and what?
Pacificus Foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
Thank you.
So did that
That was an
encourage
impetus,
you?
right? And then I got an agent, and she encouraged me to write a novel. Joyce Carol Oates read one of my stories, and loved it, but said that it was a chapter of a novel. So,
your short story. So
yeah.
did that
so I
motivate
always,
you?
It did. I always had a feeling that it was a novel, but taking on a novel is such a huge commitment. But getting that feedback from someone that I respect as much as Joyce Carol Oates was a lovely push.
So how long did it take you then? Or are you still in the process?
I'm still working on, I'm on my second draft, and it's been getting great feedback so far. So
You've worked in films as well. You've worked in film.
I did Harry Shearer's movie.
Did you
Teddy
primarily
Bear's
want to be
Picnic.
an actress or a writer?
I always knew I'd do both. You know, the writing was something that I just always knew I would do, and the acting was more of a decision, if that makes sense to you.
And
Do you
TV,
know-
though? You've done TV?
I've done a bunch of
So
television.
does that come easy to you? Is that the reason? Or does writing come easy?
They both do, kind of. They're just different sides of me. I basically feel like I'm a storyteller.
Oh, so that...
And whatever form. I'm a storyteller in terms of being an actor by helping to tell other people's stories, and I'm a storyteller in telling my own stories. And then with the literary series that I produce, Spoken Interludes, I facilitate other people telling their stories. So to me, the storytellers are the people in our communities who I think, keep us sane, because communities that are able to tell the stories that come from where and how we live, that's how we interpret and process what's happening in the world. And I think a healthy community is one that supports the arts in which we tell our stories, be it visual through paintings, be it movement through dance, be it theater with acting, be it writing with literature.
But you make it sound so easy, telling stories, because the way whenever I think of telling a story, I think I could never tell a story. Because I could never write a story.
But we do. We all.
I know,
our lives
and the way you do it
stories.
is, if you're sitting at having a coffee with your friend, you're telling a story.
Right. But
I don't think of things like that as storytelling.
Right, but everything is, really.
And that's kind of how you got started with spoken interludes. I went to my first spoken interludes event at the Tempest, what is it called? Supper Club, which I was going, what is this? I've never heard of this Tempest place. Why am I going to this? But it was so interesting. So tell us how you actually got started. It didn't start in the Tempest Supper Club.
No, it didn't. I started it 7 years ago. I wanted to combine my 3 favorite things, giving parties. I'm from South Louisiana, so that's a very important part of my life, acting and writing. And I knew so many actors who write, and I knew so many writers who were writing but didn't have an outlet for their work, especially here where it's all about kind of the final script that's going to be shot. I wanted writers to have a place where they could write something and immediately have an audience for it.
Oh, so it started more like that, writing and then reading. But then now you have novelists.
Now we have novelists coming, but we still have a series 3 times a year, Spoken Interludes Vanguard, for writers who are emerging.
The thing that I thought was so interesting about it is that it's a 501c3, that there's a charitable aspect of it. How did you decide to do that? I think that's the outreach that's great.
Yes, thank you. I've always loved teenagers, and I think that they're such an important group to focus on. So I made it a nonprofit organization and have gotten grants to raise money to do writing programs for teenagers. And we teach at a high school downtown. The LA Library gives us classroom space.
Oh, is that right? You can take your high schools. You take your high school students to the library.
They get bused over.
Oh,
the teacher takes them, and we work with them there. And then we also.
Well, what do you do with them? Is it a workshop?
It's an 8-week program, and we take them through the aspects of writing a short story. At the end of it, they've all written a short story, and then they read it at the Mark Taper Auditorium at the library.
Oh, it's such
which is open to the public.
Wonderful
And they're
program.
great stories. They're very fresh, very raw, very. You
Who
know what I love?
does it? Who teaches
myself
those? Oh,
and
you
three other writers.
Oh, that's so great.
So we have small groups. It's just, one teacher and like 5 kids, so they get lots of one-on-one attention.
And does that shift each year?
Right. We get 3. Well, we go through 3 groups of kids, so we get about 75 kids a year through that. And then we also teach in Chatsworth at a school for boys who are in the juvenile detention system.
But you're the constant. Then do you get different writers who come in and teach?
Exactly.
So you're the one person who's always there.
Right.
And then how do you choose these other people to come?
Writers who I met in the series who had some teaching background. So that they're, published writers, but also people who have taught, who will work well with teenagers.
And do these students come to your spoken interludes sometimes?
2 of the students are selected as winners, and they come and read their stories, which is very exciting for them because they get to meet professional writers. And
I know, it's great. How do you get these writers to come? I mean, now you're at a point where they're not authors who are looking for a show place.
Right.
These are people who are successful,
published,
who have publishers behind them. They have their PR sending them here to LA to do a reading.
And we also do have a series for emerging writers in the community.
But how do you get
important.
These authors to come?
The authors either contact me themselves, or I work with the publishing houses, and then the newer writers submit material. People can go to the website and find the submission guidelines and send in stories, and those are selected.
Do you rehearse them? Do you pick
Yes,
the passages?
they do work with a director.
Do they? Those are the students, your students?
No, the professional writers
have
the option of working with a director because usually they're not actors, so they're not
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a nice way for them to have a more relaxing experience when they do read.
So do you pick their passage?
They do.
They pick what they
yeah.
want to read?
Yeah.
Because you've had, I don't know who you've had. Why don't you name a few people?
Ariana Huffington, Bernard Cooper, Christopher Durang, Nora Dunn, Julia Sweeney, Bruce Wagner.
Jeannie El-Hadef.
Jeannie El-Hadef. Fran Lebowitz is going to come in the fall.
I saw Fran at one of the last ones.
Right, Michael York.
Oh, yeah. So, and it's
Amy Bender.
It's a very casual situation. You have a buffet. Do you do the cooking?
No, I don't do the cooking. No, I don't do the cooking. If
You're
I did the cooking, it'd be Louisiana food.
You're the Southern Belle.
Yeah, exactly.
Southern Belle.
The restaurant does the cooking.
So you have a buffet.
We have a buffet, and everyone can visit before, and people sit with people that they haven't met, so it's a very family-style communal experience.
And then afterwards.
And all the writers are about, so they can meet the writers easily.
And the writers stay, don't they? And then
The writers
they sell
stay.
their books
They
or
sell their
autograph
books
them.
and visit with people.
How many people usually attend?
About 100.
Oh, so it's still
Yeah.
intimate.
Yeah. Oh,
It's very intimate.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could pass this program on to someone else if you don't continue it, or if you could clone it in different places. Only because it's the outreach part of it is so great.
Right. Thanks.
Did you think about that, or is there anything like that in the future?
I guess if I have a daughter, maybe
No, and some
that
other
she could
writers
take
or
over,
something.
or I mean, definitely there are, we have a read program for fourth graders to help them with their reading skills, and I'm not involved with that. Other writers
I
do
see.
that.
I see.
So there are aspects that I'm not,
you kind of
that I have instigated and that go on. But
The thing that interested me was that you had 4 or 5 authors. I mean, you had many people there
Right.
that night.
well,
not just-
I think that's nice, because then if an audience member comes for one writer who they know that they like,
Exactly.
then they're exposed to other people, and they get to learn about new writers that they haven't heard, and it just kind of helps everybody, rather than having an author event that's only that writer.
Uh-huh.
I think it's nice, because then you get little tidbits of different people instead of just a whole half hour of one person.
Yeah, I think that's
So-
just so great, and I'm so
Thank
happy
you.
to have had you come and
Thank
tell
you.
us about it.
Thanks for having me here,
And
Joan.
all of you, thanks for watching, and keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 917. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.